I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Colors. I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking, king of my jungle, just a gangster stalking, living life like a firecracker, quick as my fuse, vendetta to death, back to colors I choose. Colors.
Two cops, two worlds, two gangs wearing different colors. Sean Penn, Robert Duvall, a Dennis Hopper film. Colors, rated R.
Starts Friday, April 15th at a theater near you. Check newspapers.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. And this is a review for Ben. Thank you so much for that. It's one of two requests for Ben. If anyone wants to send in requests, pretty much anything, you just send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now this is for a 1988 film called Colors. Now it's directed by Dennis Hopper. And I believe at first he wanted Mickey Rourke for the lead role because he really enjoyed Mickey Rourke's performance in, I want to say, Rumblefish. Could be wrong on that. But years went on. He finally got the chance to direct this, and Mickey Rourke was busy. So then he got Sean Penn. Now Sean Penn plays a younger cop. Robert Duvall is much more seasoned cop at the part of this gang crime division. And pretty much is them going into these certain circumstances, which Sean Penn's character is more of the hot shot and going overboard. There's a graffiti artist. He takes it and blasts the kid in the eyes with the spray tan. He's the one who'll be a lot rougher with people. While Robert Duvall, he tries to talk with these guys. He tries to be nice. He tries to be understandable. And Sean Penn's like, I don't get why you're doing that. I didn't set up to be a cop to do this. And ultimately, you find out that what Sean Penn is doing is having a ripple effect that sadly is going to lead to something bad by the end. Maybe not necessarily for him, but something bad. So it does have that ripple repercussion effect. It's also a movie that's a bit interesting to watch nowadays because of police officers, certain things happening with police officers. I'm surprised this film actually doesn't get talked about more nowadays, like in this current climate that we're in. Because in a way, this movie, yeah, the certain way with the Danes outfits showcases 80s, which I'm for because I love the 80s. Yeah, 80s movie right there. But you won't have to change much, and this film is still fairly relevant in today's age. And, you know, Dennis Hopper directing it, that's an interesting choice, and he didn't give a part for himself in the movie, which is too bad, because I like Dennis Hopper. I miss him. He's a good actor. May he rest in peace. he's directed a couple films. Easy Rider, of course. There was one with Jodie Foster. I forget what the name of it. I think that's the one he directed after this. It's one of those things where one of the cool things, because I had not seen this film before, I had seen bits and pieces, but watching it, it was interesting to see all the familiar faces. For example, in the first 15 minutes, there's this Dane, and it's Damon Wayans and Don Cheadle. I'm like, what the hell? Is that, yeah, that's Damon Wayans. Before, maybe it was around the time of In Living Color. But, you know, before Major Pain, which I reviewed on here, which I love, and other stuff. It's like, oh, wow, it's Damon Wayans. And then Don Cheadle, the only, well, not the only, but one disappointment was I thought Don Cheadle was going to be more of the main bad guy, because the way it builds up at the beginning is as if he's going to be the primary bad guy. Because I do think Don Cheadle's a pretty good actor. You know, even in films like Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones, Don Cheadle I thought was good in that. Of course, he's more well known as the War Machine in the Avengers films. But he was in C.R.A.S.H, which I reviewed, which from 2004. He's a very capable actor. But this was early on in his career, and sadly, I don't think he was used nearly as effective as he could have been. I guess they didn't know how good of an actor they had on their hands. But he's part of this Dane, and sort of the incident that really starts the film off, where a member of another Dane is killed, and it deals with the Danes of the Bloods, the Crips, and I forget the name of the third one. It's more of a Latino Dane, which has one white guy who's played by Courtney Gaines. I think he's also even named Whitey. Is that Courtney Gaines from Children of the Corn and the Burbs? You know, where in the Burbs, where Bruce Dern gives him a sweeps him off his feet and threatens to break his neck. Hey, Klopek! Hey, Pinocchio! Where are you going? Let's see, other familiar faces. Maria Conchita Alonso from The Running Man and Predator 2. She's in this as, for a little bit, the girlfriend of Sean Penn's character. Glenn Plummer, who's in the film Speed 1 and 2. He's been in other stuff. He's a guy named High Top, which there's a moment where Sean Penn's chasing him, and he appears a couple times throughout the film. And there's a couple other people I recognize. Like, one is Grandel Bush. I remember him from movies like Free Jack, among others. For all 5 of you that remember Free Jack, that was the film with Emilio Estevez, Anthony Hopkins, Rene Russo. I thought it was a decent sci-fi action flick. I think it's based on Philip K. Dick. It's not as grandiose as some of the other Philip K. Dick films, or movies produced of his novels, but I still quite enjoyed Free Jack. But yeah, he was in that film, he's in this. And like I say, it's pretty much Sean Penn, Robert Duvall going from A to B to C, dealing with their friendship, but not really, where they're antagonistic, because Duvall doesn't like how hotshot Sean Penn is. And even Duvall tells a story about the bull and the cows. And he's like, hey. One bull says to the other bull, look at all those cows down there. And the younger bull says, hey, Pop, let's run down there and fuck. How did he say it? Hey, Pop, let's run down there and fuck one of those cows. And the other bull says, no, son. Let's walk down there and fuck them all. Of course, the point being, don't go head first. You'll scare everyone off. You'll screw things up. But act nice and polite. They start trusting you. Maybe get a bit more trust. Maybe arrest bigger fish. Bigger group. Get more info that you need for bigger arrests, for bigger things to come. Don't rattle the cages so hard, otherwise you'll have everyone hating you and ready to spit on you. Or, you know, some of the stuff that happens with Sean Penn's character in this. Oh, another guy, there's this meeting where they're like, we're sick of shit in our neighborhood. One of them is Tony Todd, Candyman himself, who plays like a Vietnam vet. He's in like one scene. But oh shit, that's Tony Todd. And there's definitely some decent action. For example, there's a moment where there's an indoor funeral for one of the gang members, and an opposing gang drive by and shoot the indoor funeral. And apparently critics at the time thought, well, that's unrealistic. I don't know why they would think that. But then ironically enough, not soon after, there was a fucking indoor funeral that was hit by a drive-by. So it is a movie that does showcase, especially at the time, how the gangs were running rampant. That's why so many films, action films, and that much, if I want to talk and finish a complete sentence. Yeah, a lot of movies in the 80s about gangs because they were running rampant, and you don't really hear about that nowadays. Now that I think about it, you don't really see a lot of movies about gangs. What was the last like mainstream movie that talked about that? There might be one, and I'm completely blanking out. And I don't mean like a movie that talks about a historical point, that this is what happened in the 90s. I mean like a new film. There might be one, and I'm blanking out. And then, of course, the end in the 90s where you had Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society and Fresh and Juice, and most of those films I reviewed on the channel, most of them I liked. But, yeah, it's not something you see a lot nowadays of any type. Go figure. Well, that's not true. There was a film called VFW, which was about which is a pretty cool film to me, one of the better films of 2020, where Stephen Lane and Martin Cove and Fred Williamson, others, they were like Vietnam vets, and they were at the VFW. Someone comes in, the Danes want in, and they fight to the death against these Danes. A little bit of Psalm Precinct 13 style. So there was a film. I just remember that. So that was a good one. But yeah, this Hopper definitely creates some interesting shots. Like there's a moment where there's this graffiti guy up against the wall, and then Des Hopper cuts a outside shot, like a wider shot, where it's this big mural of Jesus. And Robert Duvall's like, well, how come you didn't mark this, huh? You marked the other place, you didn't mark this, huh? And the way this position, like the kid's right in the middle of the Jesus mural, and the head's down as if he's bowing, as if he's praying to the thing. I mean, just the way that was an interesting shot that, I said, Des Hopper constructed. Meanwhile, Sean Penn's characters get more and more out of control. I mean, they get into a car chase, car flips over, the next car they get is yellow, which is why Sean Penn gets the name Pac-Man. Because run after suspects and eat them. But because he's getting out of control, I mean, there's even people who he punches the guy and arrests him because he was giving them hard looks. Which is probably more biographical for Sean Penn, because this is around the time where Sean Penn punched an extra. Yeah, this is the time where Sean Penn, I guess an extra was taking pictures without his permission, which you shouldn't do that. But going up and punching the guy, yes, I think that's a bit extreme. You know, giving the middle finger, like, fuck you, you know, get the fuck out, or, you know, give me that camera or something. But to go out and punch him, yeah, that's a bit much. So I think he got like 30 days in jail or something to that effect. But But at first, Sean Penn's not really the nicest guy. I do think he's a good actor, but he's not a guy I would ever want to meet. Seems like a dickhead, to be honest. Which is probably why you don't see him a lot in movies nowadays, because it seems like he's got a reputation of being hard to work with. Or even to market, because he doesn't really market his movies a lot. You know, like, you don't see him a whole lot doing like press tours and interviews. At least not as much as other people. I'll put it that way. It's not that he never does it, but just not as much as other people. But he is a good actor. He does a good job in this. Robert Duvall, very capable, talented, accomplished actor. He has a good movie with Sean Penn where he says, if you try to fight every SOB, you won't last. Your wife, if you ever get one, will walk. She will fucking leave you. Trying to talk sense into Sean Penn. But Sean Penn has to learn the hard way. And about how these tensions are rising with the Danes because one person's shooting the other. Also, Sean Penn is not helping the situation. And then he gets a reputation amongst the Danes so that at one point they go in and some other cop shoots a guy who thought he was reaching for a gun but was reaching for his pants. And then, but they blame Sean Penn for it because they hear a cop shot a guy, so they assume it's Sean Penn, so now they want to put a hit out on him. And that's what I mean, like this whole attitude of Sean Penn's character. If he listened to Robert Duvall and said, hey, calm down and stop being this hotshot, thinking you're Mr. Tough Guy, Mr. He-Man, it wouldn't reach to this predicament. I didn't mind also the song Colors, 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 which I want to say was Ice-T. I could be wrong on that. I'd have to look it up. And then any issues I mean, I would say I liked the film because I thought the cast did a really good job. I thought it was very efficiently directed. It had a nice outlook on the Danes where it wasn't, at least at times, treat them a little bit like human beings with the way Robert Duvall talks with these guys and converses with these guys. And like I said, it's a movie that is a bit relevant in today's age. I would imagine if you don't know much about this film, you may be going into it thinking it's going to be much more of a strict action film. If you go in expecting that, you may be a bit disappointed, because that's not really the case. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, sorry about that, folks. I want to look at the soundtrack real quick. Yeah, Colors performed by Ice-T. You also had songs by Salt and Pepper, Big Daddy Kane, Cool G Rap, even Rick James. Rick James, bitch. But yeah, not a bad soundtrack. And I'm trying to look at what Dennis Hopper all directed. Easy Rider, The Last Movie, Out of the Blue, then Colors, Catch Fire, that was the Jodie Foster one, The Hot Spot, and then Chasers in 1994 was the last film he directed. And the film did pretty decent at the box office. Cost $10 million and made $46 million domestically. So did a pretty decent job at the box office. And again, one of my few issues, like I said, with Don Cheadle and Damon Wayans, opens up with one of the first scenes is with, not the first scene, but 50 minutes you see these two guys. It seemed like the movie would focus more on them. But then there are a lot of points where they disappear, and then at the end of that they reappear a little bit more. And Don Cheadle really is kind of the main bad guy in a way. But spoilers. Again, spoilers. There's never any scenes that I can remember where he shares with Robert Duvall or Sean Penn. And even, like, these guys didn't really solve the case. They were just caught in the middle. And what I mean by that is, Robert Duvall's trying to diffuse the situation because he knows Sean Penn's on the dead pool, so to speak. But meanwhile, the Crips and the Bloods, they're fighting amongst each other. And most of them kill each other. Like Grandel Bush and Don Cheadle, they kill each other. So I guess when I'm watching, I was expecting like some kind of standoff between the cops and the gangs. And sadly, though, that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen at all. So I found that a bit disappointing. I think it's just weird, like the people who started the incident, they never really do much with what seems like your main villains and your main heroes. Again, kind of, they all kill each other in this separate battle, and then the cops kind of come in afterward, and then what happens at the end happens. Which I won't spoil that for those who haven't seen it. But so that was a bit, I was a bit unsure about that whole thing. But I do think Robert Duvall and Sean Penn do a good job. They worked well together. The movie went at a good pace. The movie kept moving quite efficiently, where they go from one to the other. I did either they get in a car chase and the car flips over, they're chasing a guy named High Top, or they sort of seemingly separate incidents that results into what happens at the finale. So overall, Colors, like I said, is an interesting take on the whole cops versus gangs lifestyle. I don't even know if that's the best way to put it. And they talk about how they have their colors, we have ours. Like I said, a film definitely worth a look, especially if you're interested at all in the actors or, director Dennis Hopper. You do a lot worse for movies than this. So with that said, again, if you're expecting a Song Breeze of 13, two cops shooting a bunch of gangs, Death Wish style, that's not this kind of film. There's more of a dramatic crime, like, cop story than that. I think if you don't do it with that mindset, you'll enjoy it. But thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.